It was Halloween night, and I found myself alone behind the front desk at the Holiday Inn, the only hotel for miles. The wind howled outside, rattling the aging windows, while flickering fluorescent lights cast an eerie glow in the empty lobby. With only 2 rooms occupied, I expected a quiet shift. The inn, notorious for its isolation, had earned its share of ghost stories. Locals whispered about strange happenings and figures seen in the night. I scoffed at the tales, trying to kill time doom-scrolling. As the clock neared midnight, the air grew heavier, thick with an unsettling tension. Then I caught sight of something through the glass doors, a woman standing outside. I squinted to get a better look. She was disturbingly skinny, pale, barefoot, with discolored skin, almost purple, as if she had been submerged in icy waters for far too long. Messy black hair fell around her shoulders, framing a gaunt face adorned with a wide, unsettling smile. She wore a torn white nightgown, her pale white eyes pierced through the dim light. "What the hell?" I muttered under my breath, a chill creeping down my spine. I watched her for a moment, bewildered. She didn't move, didn't knock on the glass or call for help. Instead, she stood there smiling right at me, her pale eyes reflecting the dim light of the lobby. This is insane, I thought, shaking my head as I attempted to dismiss the surreal scene before me. The woman's unwavering gaze felt like a weight pressing against me, and no matter where I shifted, her smile remained fixed on my face, as if I were the only thing in her world. "Can I help you?" I said with more attitude than I intended. No response. "God, I really do not want to deal with a crackhead right now," I muttered under my breath. I glanced at the clock. 12 a.m. Midnight. Halloween. It had to be some sort of twisted joke, right? I chuckled nervously, but the sound echoed hollowly in the empty lobby. "Is this a prank or something? Do you need help? I can call 911 if you need me to." No response. "Hello," I said while waving my hands. Nothing. Just that unwavering stare and smile. "Okay, let me know if you need anything," I said with a sarcastic bite. I looked down at my phone, scrolling through social media to distract myself, but she remained in my peripheral vision. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. The wind howled outside, and I could hear the branches scratching against the building, like fingers clawing at the walls. The woman continued to stand there, still and silent, her smile never faltering. "Okay, funny prank, haha, I get it. Can we be done with this now?" I said, half hoping someone would jump out and laugh, but no one came. The woman remained, her presence an unyielding shadow against the cold glass. Midnight turned to 1 a.m., and still she stood there, her grin growing more unnerving with each passing minute. I felt my heart race. Could she be hurt? Lost? I fought against the urge to step outside, fear mixing with a strange compulsion to understand why she was there. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was deeply wrong. I watched as the night wore on, feeling the oppressive weight of the darkness press against me. Her gaze never wavered, never softened. Every minute that passed felt like a countdown to something I didn't want to comprehend. "Okay, for real, what do you want?" I shouted, half joking, half serious. No response. Just that unsettling stillness. Feeling uneasy, I reached for the landline to call for help, only to discover that the phone lines were completely dead. Frustrated, I pulled out my cell phone, but there was no signal. I turned to the computer on the desk to send a quick email to the local police, but as I tried to connect to the Wi-Fi, I realized the network was down. A heavy cloud of dread settled over me. No internet, no phone, no way to reach out for help. I tried to distract myself by tidying up the front desk, arranging brochures and cleaning up the crumbs from my late-night snack. But no matter how busy I tried to keep myself, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. I stole glances at the woman outside. She hadn't moved an inch, and yet her presence seemed to loom larger as time dragged on. At 1:30 a.m., the front door's bell jingled softly, and I jumped, my heart racing. My eyes darted to the entrance, but it was just the wind nudging the door slightly ajar. The woman remained there, still smiling, her eyes glinting with an otherworldly light. I felt a chill run down my spine. I decided to take a break, stepping into the back room to grab a cup of coffee. The whirring of the coffee maker provided a momentary reprieve, but as I stood there, I couldn't shake the feeling of dread. Was I really alone? I imagined the woman slipping inside while I wasn't watching, creeping through the lobby like a phantom. When I returned to the front desk at 2 a.m., my heart sank. The woman was still there, but now she was closer to the door. Her smile grew wider, stretching unnaturally across her face, revealing teeth that looked far too sharp. My pulse quickened. Was I losing my mind? I needed to call someone, anyone, but the dead phone lines and my lack of signal kept me trapped in this nightmare. I glanced at the clock, 2:30 a.m. I felt the weight of her gaze even more intensely now, and a primal fear began to creep in. At 3 a.m., I caught myself glancing at the door every few seconds, heart racing at the thought of her stepping inside. But she didn't. Instead, she remained, her smile wide and grotesque, as if she were savoring my growing fear. "Why are you just standing there?" I shouted, desperation creeping into my voice. No answer. Just silence. The air seemed to grow thicker, pressing in on me, and I could feel my hands shaking. Suddenly, the fluorescent lights flickered again and went out completely. The lobby plunged into darkness, and I froze, a chill running down my spine. For a heartbeat, I was enveloped in black. Then in the faint light filtering through the windows, I saw her silhouette standing at the entrance. Her form was thin, almost skeletal, the disheveled hair framing her face like a dark halo. The outline of her mouth twisted into that disturbing smile, still directed at me, unwavering and unnatural, her eyes piercing through the darkness. I stumbled back, my heart pounding. In that moment, she felt more like a shadow than a person, frozen and yet very much present. As the lights flickered back on, revealing the lobby in harsh fluorescence, she remained standing there, her pale eyes locking onto mine with an intensity that stole my breath. I backed away from the desk, but she didn't move, didn't step forward. As dawn approached, my exhaustion fought against my rising panic. My eyes grew heavy, and I fought to stay awake. But the sight of her was both mesmerizing and horrifying. The first light of morning crept through the trees, casting a pale glow over the parking lot. Finally, just as the sun began to rise, the woman turned slowly, her smile still fixed on me, and began walking toward the nearby woods. My heart raced as I watched her move, her torn nightgown fluttering in the morning breeze, her figure gradually fading into the shadows of the trees. I breathed a sigh of relief, but the air still felt thick with the memory of her presence. Shaking, I stood there for a moment longer, trying to process what had just happened. "What the fuck was that?" I said out loud to myself. With the sun finally breaking over the horizon, I allowed myself to breathe again. I grabbed my belongings, sprinted to my car, and never looked back at that hotel. As I drove away, the weight of the night began to lift, but a gnawing dread settled in my chest. Even now, I can't shake the nightmares. I wake up in a cold sweat, convinced I can see her standing at the foot of my bed, that unsettling smile stretching across her face, her pale eyes locked onto mine. No matter how far I run, I can't escape her gaze. I know she's out there, waiting for the next Halloween night when darkness falls again.